and it can grow and grow and grow. The benefits can grow and grow. Srila Prabhupada, he established the League of Devotees on Akshaya Tritiya, and you find that it's expanded. It was originally just a movement that was going to be in India, but Akshaya Tritiya is a day to do all these wonderful spiritual things because they grow and expand. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So I'll tell you a little story, Akshaya Tritiya story. There, Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda was cooking for Krishna. And, no, let's rewind. Mother Yashoda was cooking, and Krishna went up to Mother Yashoda, and he said, what kind of funny bhojan are you cooking? What is this that you're cooking? Mama, what are you cooking? What are you cooking? What is this that you're cooking? Oh, today the verse is, we're on verse 15 to 20. Who put 37?
I'm sorry. I looked at your other date. I'm sorry. I'll fix this.
Yeah, 15 to 20. And so he's asking, what are you cooking? What are you cooking? Because she's actually cooking a bunch of snacks fried in ghee. And she said, Krishna, your Baba is going on a pilgrimage, and I'm cooking all this food for him so he can take with him. He will last so long. It's fried. He said, what is that? What is going on? He said, Krishna, I'm very busy. Go ask your father. And so Krishna ran over to see his father. Baba, where are you going? Where are you going? And he says, oh, I'm going to Prayag. I'm going to the Sangam. And we talked about this in the chat, the Sangha. Sangam, you have Sangha, which is like just things combined together, like some sticks added together, or even like a crowd of people at a bus stop. But Sangha, without the H, that means when something is more, it's mixing together, like the rivers, the Triveni Sangam, the river Saraswati, Jamuna, and Ganga, when they mix together, that's called Sangha. Like where we have Bhakti Sangha, we have Ananda Bihari giving his heart and attention, mixing in with Anadi and Bhima and Jeffrey Ackler and Prashant. We have all this Sangha mixing in together. It's an intimate exchange of hearts. And so he told, I'm going to Prayag, and I'm also going to visit various holy places. And Krishna said, but today is not an auspicious day to go. Tomorrow is Akshaya Tritiya. And Shai means things that diminish or have limitation. And Akshay means no limit. No limit. It expands. And Tritiya is just the day, the third day. So tomorrow is Akshaya Tritiya. You should go tomorrow. And so Nanda Maharaji woke up early in the morning, and he went to bathe in his lake, Sarovar. You know, this is when you have a kund gets a little bit bigger. It's called Sarovar. If any of you heard this name, you ever heard of Kusum Sarovar? You can look up on Google, one of the most photogenic places. People love to take photos in Vrindavan. And at the foot of Govardhan Hill is Kusum Sarovar, the lake of flowers. So this is Nanda Sarovar. So when it's so small, it's a kund. When it's a little bit bigger, it's called Sarovar. And so Nanda Maharaj is going there early in the morning, and he sees a very huge personality. And he's rolling in the dust of Raj. And he's then going into the Sarovar and splashing water on himself. And he's left giving out this huge laughter. And he's sprinkling the water all over himself, and then running into the name of lake? Sarovar, Sarovara. Sarovara. Sarovar. If you can take off the last A, because we don't say that in most modern tongues. Sarovar instead of Sarovara. So he's there, and Nanda Maharaj says, "Oh, Maharaj, dear sir, who are you?" And he says, "I'm Prayag." Nanda Maharaj says, Prague? I don't know any Prague in Braj." He said, No, I'm not Prague. I'm Prayagraj, the king of all tirthas. This is previously known as Allahabad. Any of you have been to Kumbh Mela? This is where we have Kumbh Mela, the Triveni Sangam. Now it's come back to the original name, Prayag. This is where Lord Chaitanya met, Rupa Goswami or Sanatan Goswami. In 2001, I had the opportunity of going there. And they had 40 million people there gathered for the Kumbh Mela. At the time, world's largest gathering of recorded, world's largest gathering of people. And so Prayag is there. He says, all year long, people are coming and dumping their pop in my rivers. You know what is pop? Coca-Cola, Pepsi. No. Sin. Pop is sin. Adam papam. Everybody comes and bathes in my rivers to wash away their sins. And so I come once a year to Akshay Tritiya. On Akshay Tritiya, I come to this lake, Sarovar, Nanda Sarovar. I come to this lake to become pavan, to become purified, to become pure. All year long, people are dumping their sins in at this holy place. So the holy place says, I come to your lake to become purified. And then Nanda Maharaj sees all these beautiful ladies are there. And of course, the ladies of Vrindavan are very beautiful, but this is a different type of beauty. Their saris have gold and silver mixed in. And he says, who are you? And he says, she says Ganga. The other one says Jamuna. The other one says Kaveri. The other one says Kurujangali. The other one says Narmada. These are all the different holy rivers of India. And they say, what are you doing here? They said, all year long, everyone is coming and dumping their pop in our rivers. But we come here on Akshay Tritiya once a year. We come to become purified, Pavana. So there's this special place near Nandagram. It's Nanda Maharaj's his lake has become now called Pavan Sarovar. Kusum Sarovar is a different place. That's the one near Govardhan. That's the very photogenic one that everyone likes to take photos. This is a little story about the Pavan Sarovar and how. So Nanda Maharaj, Krishna sees him in the morning. He says, "Oh, Baba, when are you going? When are you going? When are you going?" He says, "Lalaji, I will not go. This morning, I woke up and all the places I wanted to go, they all came to my kund, my sarovar, and they bathed in my sarovar. So why do I need to go anywhere?" So it's a little story about Akshay Tritiya. And if you take these words, Akshay, what does Akshay mean? I mentioned it earlier.
You said it means unlimited, without any limits.
Yes, without any limits, yes. And what does Sarovar mean?
Like a pond, but much bigger.
Okay. So here's a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Lila Mrita Sartara Shata Shatadar Dashadike Vahanya Hoite Se Chaitanya Lila Hoy Sarovar Akshay Manoham Sachara Tahaite. So this verse says the pastimes of Lord Krishna are the essence of all nectar. And the nectar is flowing in hundreds of rivers in all directions. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are an eternal reservoir. And one is advised to let his mind swim like a swan on this transcendental lake. And it says that this is the term that they use. It's a sarovar akshay. Akshay sarovar. That it's an unlimited lake. So this is an unlimited lake. Let's Krishna's. So now we're going to dive into the unlimited lake of Krishna's pastime. So this is the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, beginning with chapter 15. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yor Atmanam Yor Atmasamam Vitam Janmaishwar Kriti Bhavaha Tayor Vihavaho Maitricha Nato Madhyay Not Madhyayo Kvachit. So this is in the midst of Krishna. And one of the most common uses of TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we often look at videos of people doing silly things and pranks. So here's Krishna is pulling a prank on Rukmini. This is a weird problem. Okay. So Krishna's pulling this prank on Rukmini. He's joking and teasing. And so this begins, let's see. We have beginning with, it starts with text 10. Krishna starts to say, like, well, he says, I think you should have picked somebody else as your husband. There were so many powerful kings. They all wanted you. You should have chosen an equal. I was afraid. I built a palace in the sea. That's verse 12. Verse 13, he says, you should follow someone whose actions are, no, shouldn't follow someone whose actions are unclear. Apasta, vartmanam. So when you follow somebody who it doesn't seem to know that they know what they're doing, other people can figure out what they're doing, and that doesn't seem like it brings fortune. And Krishna, he seems to have no interest in anything. Niskinshana. So you shouldn't marry somebody who has no interest in anything. Maybe he doesn't even have anything. His father, Vasudeva, is not very wealthy, but you come from a family line of very wealthy kings. So I think you should marry somebody else. No, it's equal is good. So this is the verse that we're on, 15. Marriage and friendship are proper between two people who are equal in terms of wealth, birth, influence, physical appearance, capacity for good progeny, but never between superior and inferior. And then she continues on. This is let's read the purport. Persons of superior and inferior qualities may live together in relationship as master and servant or teacher and student, but in marriage and friendship are proper only between those of equal status. The word bhava in the context of marriage indicates that a couple should have a similar capacity to produce good offspring. Lord Krishna here presents himself as materially unqualified. In fact, the Lord does not have any material qualities. He lives in pure spiritual existence, and thus all the Lord's opulences are eternal and not of the flimsy and mundane sort. So here, let's just go through all the different things that Krishna says. Then verse 16, he says, this is actually a short-sighted decision. I don't have any good qualities. I'm just glorified by beggars. And then verse 17, he says, it's not too late. Now, this is really silly because, Krishna's telling her this, and they just had the marriage of Aniruddha, the son. It's not like she's 18 years old. verse 17. Not too late. You could find, you could definitely find somebody else. Now, Krishna she is always so mild. So Krishna was eager to see some spice in her mood. She's always so mild with Krishna. This is Rukmini. Rukmini is actually an expansion of Chandravali. And Radharani's expansion is Satyabhama. And you see that Satyabhama is much more spicy with Krishna. And Krishna was hoping to see some of this little fieriness. He was making some jokes. But it didn't work in how he wanted. Actually, you have what is called Ichha Shakti, Krishna's desire. But his desire was weaker than her Prema Shakti, her love. And so when she heard all these things, her own mood took over. She didn't exactly do what Krishna wanted, not until a little bit later. So Krishna says in verse 18, I just did this because I didn't like those enemies. I just wanted to make them mad. That's why I kidnapped you. I didn't, I didn't just to dispel their ignorance. I'm indifferent. You can. Don't worry. I'm self-satisfied. You can marry somebody else. It doesn't matter. And I'm completely indifferent to it. Ishaki cut the bug.
Yes.
Okay. You gonna take him outside?
Yes.
All right. Good. There's some little bug going around.
It's creepy looking. It looks like a centipede.
Oh, that's an English centipede. Yeah. That's it. And then there's verse 20. I'm indifferent. It's okay. And so then you find that Rukmini, she faints. Krishna, he picks her up. He manifests in a very heroic and way. He manifests 4 arms as the great heroic lover. He picks her up with one arm. He's fixing her hair. The other hand, he's wiping her tears. He's holding her and caressing her. And he says, this is what husbands and wives like to do. They just joke around. I'm sorry. And he tries to appease her. And then she starts speaking, and then we find this happens often. You have this in Shishupal's insults to Krishna. All of his contrary words were shown as glorifications. So Krishna's words are being shown as glorifications of him by Rukmini. And so she starts in verse 34. She says, yes, we are unequal. You're the master of the 3 primal deities, and taking the humble position, I'm controlled by the 3 modes of nature, and you control the 3 primal deities. Like in the Vedic pantheon, we have like the devas, we have these demigods, these powerful figures, but then way above them, you have the kind of the gods of the gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. These are the primal deities. They're way above the minor devatas. And he says, but no, you are the master of them. And then in text 35, he says, yes, like just like you said you were afraid and you enter the ocean you made a palace of Dwarka. You enter the ocean of your devotees' hearts because you're afraid of the true enemies of this world will attack your devotees. The true enemies are the enemies of addiction to sense gratification, the modes of material nature. And so you enter and you constantly try to help them in their struggle for purity. In the beginning of the sadhaka's spiritual practice, it's like you're in their hearts, but asleep. But as they deepen their spiritual life, it is like you become awake and you're there, constantly protecting them. And verse 13. Yeah. Apasta Vartmana means a person whose path or their activities are confusing. Yeah, you are unfathomable. Even the sages can't understand you. The great rishis can't understand you. What to speak of humans? And Krishna, yes, niskinshana. Here's a question: how does Krishna have nothing? Who can answer this one? How does Krishna have nothing?
He can't have anything because he is everything.
Yes. Ekyopaso rachitum jagadanda kotim yat shaktir asti jagananta chayad antaha andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam govindamani purusham tamaham bhajami. So all the universes are existing in his body. And then if you go inside one atom, Krishna is present in the atom in his fullness. So in this first part of the verse, he's saying everything exists in him. So Krishna doesn't have any luggage because it's all him. It's all part of him. He doesn't have anything with him. So he's got nothing. And then she also said, Kinshana means something. And Krishna doesn't just have something, he has everything. So he's Niskinshana. And you're also worshipped by the Niskinshana, those who don't want anything, who don't need anything, the devotees. And you said that you should marry someone of equal status. That's not possible. No one's equal to you. It's not possible for you. You said praised by beggars. Yes, because the most elevated are the Paramahamsa. So in sannyas, you have 4 stages: Kutichak, Bahudak, Parirakacharya, and Paramahamsa. And so when someone is going through the stages of sannyas, the first is Kutichak. He stays in a hut in his village, and the family come and bring him. The friends, they actually support him. And then Bahudak is that he abandons that kind of arrangement, and he becomes just like a honeybee, and he just begs from door to door. And then Parirakacharya means he leaves the village. He abandons everything and he leaves the village. And Paramahamsa is the fully elevated stage. And Krishna, you are glorified by such Paramahamsas who have fully taken shelter of you. As it's described, ahimsa, samata, tushti, all these different qualities. The first quality, ahimsa, is really is a quality that is manifest in the sannyasi who becomes fearless. He just fully depends on the Lord. And so you're glorified by such souls, praised by beggars. Yeah, and she said, I rejected. You said that, all these kings liked you. I rejected Shiva and Brahma for you. And you say you're unattached? Then let me be attached to you, even if you're indifferent. And so she kind of takes the humble position of, because the external energy, Maya, is her expansion. She identifies with that and says, Krishna, he's indifferent to his external energy. It says you glance upon the entire universe with indifference, humbly identifying herself with Krishna's external energy, which is her expansion. Rukmini says, though you do not look at me when you're ready to manifest the material universe, though you do not often look at me, when you're ready to manifest the material universe and begin the work through the mode of passion, which is your potency, you will then certainly glance upon me. So Vishnu, he glances upon the material energy, and thus she becomes impregnated with all the jivas. And I will accept that as my greatest fortune. And then there's an inner meaning, as she says, actually, you're very attached to me, as attested by your own words. I'm also thinking about her so much, this is Krishna's words, that I cannot sleep at night. tatam api tachchito nidram. And yet from your statement you say udasina, that we see that you're indifferent. Therefore your attached to me must be your attachment to me, then I must be your supreme internal potency. And so she's okay. So she's after later on in the chapter, she starts getting a little bit, Krishna was saying all these things, and she starts to exhibit some of this spice. So Krishna did get the little spice that he was hoping to see. She's saying, "Oh, if you think someone who worships you is a fool, then you're a fool." She started saying, and she said later on, she says, people who, women who are into other men, they're zombie lovers. Because what do they love? They love, the body is actually apparently alive. It's the soul that gives the semblance of life in the body, but the body in itself is not alive. It's like the battery is there, and it's that's the soul, and that gives that semblance of life. But she said the body is simply, blood and bones and etc. And so only a fool would be attached to such a body. The one who's wise wants to love you. Okay, so we'll read the verses that we haven't read. Okay, so text number 16. O Vaidarbhi, not being farsighted, you didn't realize this, and unless you chose us as your husband. This is how the kind of royal us. That's how this in royal the grammar we often say we or us. Even though we have no good qualities and are glorified only by deluded beggars. Verse 17. Now you should definitely accept a more suitable husband, a first-class man of royal order who can help you achieve everything you want, both in this life and in the next. Krishna continues to tease his beautiful wife, trying to provoke her loving anger. So it's just like you take a stone and you grind the camphor, and the fragrance comes out. So Krishna is with these grinding words, he is invoking Rukmini to her, the fragrance of her love to manifest. And it primarily manifests, she becomes very, very humble and thinks that she's about to lose the object of her love. Oh, the kings like Shishupal, Shalva, Jarasandha, and Dantavakra all hate me. Oh, beautiful thighed one. So does your elder brother Rukmi. It was to dispel the arrogance of those kings that I carried you away, my good woman, for they are blinded by the intoxication of power. My purpose was to curb the strength of the wicked. We care nothing for wives, children, and wealth, always satisfied within ourselves. We do not work for body and home, but like a light, we merely witness. But we know that Krishna actually, he does become controlled by the affection of his devotees. This is, he says earlier on, especially with the gopis, he says, Napareham, I cannot repay my debt. And even though with the gopis still, he jokes like this. So this is a way to make the fragrance of love manifest. Any, let's see, comments on here. Krishna is saying marriage between equals is best. Now, it's a little bit of a mixed bag in Kali Yuga. We don't have. Oftentimes, it's good to have like an astrology, all these things clarified, but it's not like we're dealing with. Most of us are not dealing with like a whole ancient culture of marriage. We want to see compatibility astrologically and personally, but some of the rules here can be quite strict, like, oh, somebody, you have to marry somebody who has the same amount of wealth as you. It's a little bit of a mixed bag. It's kind of like saying, tomatoes are not Ayurvedic, so, and they're considered kind of they have small amount of poison because they're in the nightshade family, tobacco family. Therefore, you should never eat tomatoes. Yet the tomato you have is organic, and then all the other food you have is like total ghetto, GMO, full of pesticides. And so it's kind of like it's not like we have a very pure system. So we take what we can, which far as compatibility. The one thing is we want to see compatibility of the mind. It's very important. We have certain things that the mind has a certain shape to it, and we want to see, like, if a person's mind is shaped towards lust, then they will just see the world in a lusty way. If someone's mind is shaped in a very, like, if a business person, he's in the forest, he's thinking, how can all these trees I can cut down, how much money, how much I could, make a little store here, I can sell this, I can sell that. And somebody else's, the mind goes, that some other person with a different shaped mind goes to the forest, and he sees, oh, this is a place I can meditate, I can pray. Another person with a different kind of mental shape goes to the forest, and you think, oh, okay, this is a place I can just, like, hunt. This is a place I can just sleep. This is a place, like, in the ancient culture, they would have that's where the thieves and rogues would rob people as well. And so we want to see, definitely important thing is the compatibility of the mind. Also, we see that Krishna's teasing. He was never belittling his wife. He was belittling himself. This is a thing that happens often in Asian cultures and different cultures, where a person will belittle their wife to boast their own position, boast their own ego. But this is not the nature of Krishna and the devotees. He's a gentleman. He's not insulting Rukmini. He was making a joke, but it was at his expense. It wasn't at her expense. So we should take that into mind also. Krishna he is always a gentleman with his wife. He's not insulting and trying to boast himself up at her expense. So here, little comments and questions that I had here. Any questions and comments you want to share?
I just want to say that I loved that you took through the verses that you were going to, but also gave your own commentary and connected it to real life and contemporary things. And I especially loved the story about Akshay Tritiya.
It's very nice. You can Dinabandhu Prabhu, he gives such nice parikramas. If you go on SoundCloud, I have some that I posted there, recording and following him for all the parikramas, and he tells all the wonderful pastimes of different places in Vrindavan. Bhima's got his hand up.
Haribol Prabhu. I actually wanted to listen to other. What do we got left here? Go ahead. Anybody else that wants to talk? Hare Krishna. No.
Yeah. Adi Purush's got his hand up. You gotta unmute yourself.
Okay, go ahead. Let Adi go.
Okay, Hare Krishna. You can hear me okay? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, extraordinary presentation explaining how Rukmini had such a tender heart, and then Krishna was teasing her to evoke a higher level of love by saying, well, maybe you should have married somebody else. And he told so many different things about his qualities. And then she defeated him and said, actually you are wonderful. And when a person hears these things, how wonderful Krishna is, how wonderful is Krishna's love, then they take to the path of devotional service and they say, therefore let me serve the Lord, let me serve Krishna. And then in the beginning you were talking about the the idea of bathing in a sacred river to wash away sinful reactions. And sometimes in these days, people say there is no such thing as sin, that you can do anything you want and it doesn't matter, anything goes. But in the wisdom, spiritually enriched culture, we understand there are things that don't help us go forward in spiritual life, that might be offensive and distracting and encumber us and take us away from the best activity. So these are like sinful. And then there's something that Srila Prabhupada says about this idea of bathing in a river, a holy river, to get away your sins. He says the bathing in the Ganga, it washes away the reactions. I've done something bad and I'm going to suffer, and you want to wash away the debt, the spiritual debt we've incurred. So that's one kind of pious activity. I understand I did something wrong, so I want to clean away the reaction so I don't have to suffer. But then the next level is, Jamuna. We bathe in the Jamuna, and not only do we get rid of the debt, but we get rid of the desire to do those things that cause us to go away from Krishna, right? So that's a little better. There's spiritual practices that are incrementally higher recommendation. Don't just get rid of your sins, but get rid of the desire to do more stupid things, right? And then, of course, if we bathe in the dust of the lotus feet of the spiritual master, not only do we get rid of the debt, not only to get rid of the desire to create more debt, but we engage in devotional service, bathing in the dust of the lotus feet of the spiritual master. When we engage in devotional service, we become purified, and we act in a way that is loving to Krishna and pleasing to Krishna. So when we take the spiritual life, we may begin, first of all, to try to stop our suffering, and then at a little more mature stage, we may say, well, you know what? Not only that, I just don't want to do this stuff anymore. But then beyond that, not just what I want to give up, but what do? We engage in the service of the Lord. We try to help other people in their faith and their, attraction to serving Krishna. And everything else is there in that. When one person engages in devotional service, the reactions are taken away, the desire to do it is taken away, and the desire to do something out of love for Krishna. So Krishna gives us these different levels. Anyway, just a principle illustrated by the pastime you mentioned about washing away their sins here and there by different kinds of holy rivers. Anyway, maybe I'm talking too long. Oh, glory to Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And
Little reflection.
Krishnaji, sorry, go ahead.
Just go for it.
I just wanted to say that no, you didn't speak too long. It really, I have said this before, but I often learn as much from the devotees as the presenter himself. And this was brilliant. Like, don't just go to take a bath to reset and then keep accumulating more. That's also like doing the japa to reset your things and still doing things, right? It's like offense. So it's amazing how that's a great, I love it.
Can we put this stuff in just
Vishnuva Prabhu, he had a childhood friend who later became the leader of the Church of Satan. And he was being interviewed, and they're asking him, well, what are your thoughts? And he said, well, we don't believe there's anything such as sin. There's no sin. There's no good or bad. It's all subjective. And so then the reporter asked him, well, what about like human trafficking? He's like, oh, of course, that's bad. So it's oftentimes people who say these things, they can't really stand by it. This idea that there is no objectively good and bad. And he was Adipurusha Prabhu was also saying that we come to understand how great Krishna is. Now, on another parikrama, we had Dinabandhu was sharing the story where Gargamuni comes to Nanda Maharaj and said, you guys need to stop this. Stop scolding Krishna. Stop putting him in timeout. He's actually a very important. This is the supreme personality of Godhead. This is all the great rishis, and Nanda Maharaj is hearing this. He's in a. They had a biggest. There was a big gathering, and they're like, "Oh, what? This guy, even an ordinary person, can control their senses. Even demons like Hiranyakashipu, they become great yogis and control their senses. But this guy, he eats 52 times a day. And if it doesn't have enough sugar, if it's a little bit cold, he won't even touch it. And the absolute truth, but he's always telling lies. You're saying he's the absolute truth. He's saying there are things that he didn't do. He says he's doing. He said, "Oh, he was Ram and he built a bridge to Lanka." He said that he took 2 steps around the whole universe. We know he didn't do these things. And then things that we know he did, he says he didn't do. No, I wasn't teasing the gopis. I wasn't over there. I didn't steal any yogurt. I didn't steal any butter. He lies all the time. And then he said, and so him and Nanda Maharaj was talking, and he's just started laughing. He says, how can he be the absolute truth? He's such a rascal. And then he starts laughing and laughing, and then everybody starts laughing. And then everybody starts laughing louder and louder. And they kind of calm down. And then and then they start laughing again. Absolute truth? What? He's such a rascal. And so they're immersed in Krishna's Leela. Okay. I think we have another reflection. Any more reflections?
Hare Krishna, thank you for the wonderful class. I had a question about what I can do something small on Akshaya Tritiya, because I feel like I'm not qualified, I'm not ready. But I guess that's my question is, where can I start on a specious day like today? What does a
Yeah.
simple act look like?
Well, you've definitely did a good start. You're at the temple. That's very good. I would suggest reading one verse of the Bhagavatam a day. That will get you. You have read so much of the Bhagavatam. If you do one verse a day, that will get you farther than so many serious spiritual practitioners who don't make a daily plan. Will find themselves 12 years from now
Nityananda, reading
Yes.
one verse of the Bhagavatam a day is not small. It's big. It's
Yeah.
huge.
It's huge. You actually, if you follow the schedule of temples and you find out how long it takes a temple. Generally, temples give classes on one verse a day, unless it's like no purports. Most temples cycle through the Bhagavatam in 12 years. So if you average one verse a day with reading, if there's no purports, reading a little bit more, reading 5 minutes a day or so, you be able to read the whole Bhagavatam once every 12 years. Now, if you ask most devotees who have been practicing for 12 years, none of them will say that they're anywhere close to finishing the Bhagavatam. So it really, really makes a big difference.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Krishna will help you.
I think Bhima has something to share.
Tell her to keep singing like she sings, and Krishna will be pleased.
Yeah.
It was lovely. Hare Krishna.
Shishirada Murlidhar ki. Gaura Chandra ki.
Okay, lovely devotees, turn on your cameras.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Muradhar Shri Guru Chandra Ki Jai. Nityananda Chandra Prabhu Ki Jai. Padayatra Prabhu Ki Jai. Good to see you, Padi. We miss you here. How was the class? What's your commitment? What are you starting on this day, Padi?
One verse a day.
Nice. One verse a day. Great, great, great. Yeah, that's big. One verse a day is big. Another thing one can do on Akshaya Trita is give a donation.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to do. Is that okay, Nityananda Chandra? Is that endorsed?
Yeah, that's definitely recommended. Definitely recommended. Yeah.
Yeah.
Charity
Nityananda Prabhu,
donation.
a question. What's the difference? I mean, I heard in one of the testimonies about Srila Prabhupada's life that he wouldn't travel on a Thursday.
I think that was specifically for his astrology. That's what I heard, was it specifically for his particular astrology.
Oh, I see, I see. So the
Yeah,
question is, what's the difference between like a superstition, something silly, something material, where we can get lost and forget Krishna, and genuinely auspicious spiritual rule that one can follow to be successful in the path? What's the difference between the two?
I know one should be an actual science that is passed down. Like I was reading this quote this morning, and it said, if someone wants to go against the kind of laws of material energy, then they're a fool. Like if like regarding like marriage compatibility, if the astrology says that this is bad, The families say this is bad. The friends say this is bad, not a good match. And they're like, okay, but I'm going to do it. Then that's a fool, because all the indications are showing this is not how the thing is going to work well. And so one should, if it's some kind of, here, we all might have heard of the story of the cat in the basket. Like, there was a wedding, and the priest told the people in the village, hey, this cat's going near the yagya. We can't have this happen. We have to have this place clean. So put the cat in a basket. And then he came to do a wedding sometime later at that same village. And the same thing happened. He said, put the cat in the basket. And then after some time, uh, there was another wedding, and then the villagers were like, wait, how can we have a wedding when we don't have a cat in a basket? For weddings you need cats in a basket. Realized that so it was the thing had become yoga nashta parantapa. It had become lost over time. But there's some, there are sciences to understand what is how are things flowing, what are the kind of indications of material nature showing how are things meant to be, what is the kind of divine direction. But it's not so clear even in the past, but in Kali Yuga it becomes a little bit less clear. Like there was one king, he wanted to make sure he had a good astrologer, so he invited astrologers for interviews, and he would ask the astrologer, my dear astrologer, how long will you live? And the astrologer was like, another 40 years. He's like, and he pulled like latch and then he would kill him. And then another astrologer would come, hey, my dear sir, how long will you live? This is a very brutal tyrant kind of king. And then finally he had one astrologer, he looked at astrology and he said, as long as the king desires. He's like, all right, sit right here. So it's not like these things are so clear. He had to go through a lot of interviews, you could say, to find a good one.
Yeah, but it illustrates the principle very nicely. Our astrology is Krishna's desire. That's our criteria. Thank you, Nitai Chan Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Bhima Prabhu, you had your hand up.
Like, here's another point about marriage. Prabhupada said, the real way that we can find is to get Krishna's mercy. To actually find somebody compatible is if you want to see what is the arrangement of destiny, and is this astrologic, well, find the person who's in charge of all of that and get their mercy. Find that being who's in charge of everything and get their blessing and kindness and mercy, and that's the real way you're going to find some
astrology. That's right. Thank you. It's very hope-giving to hear that, because sometimes we're tempted to worship an immediate demigod instead of going to the temple and hear about Krishna. Sometimes we drift into that mentality. Okay, Bhima Prabhu.
I don't mean to be too profound, but I think Padayatra should change the color of his hair every time he moves into the next chapter of the Bhagavatam, so that way we can see. Also, Padayatra, long hair is a sign of Maya. Okay, so just remember that.
That's who?
Bhima. Yeah. Never have a beard, Padayatra.
When you have a beard, Prabhu, you can speak back to Nitya Chan. When you have a beard, you can speak back to him, tell him what's up. Takes a real man to sport a beard. What I was going to say very quickly was that I love your stories, Nityananda Chandra. The fact that you've read these wonderful offerings that the Goswamis and the Acharyas have read to. I can't remember what song it is. Goranga Bolite Habe. I can't remember the name of that song, when am I going to be anxious to read the writings, right? When am I going to be anxious to read all the writings of the acharyas? And we find that in basking, we can read. I used to read the Bhagavatam, and I would go through it, and I was like, what did I just read? I just completely forgot the whole purport that I just skimmed over. I just like read it through, and it was like, I have no idea what's stuck, nothing's sticking. And now when you get old and beaten up and kind of letting go a little bit of the world around you, you start to see that every line that Prabhupada wrote in his purports, you can read them over and over again. And it's sort of like, I do some construction around here on the farm, and you don't hit a nail once. You hit it again and again. You hit that same point, the same head of the nail to drive it home. And so, I find myself every morning, I will read, while I chant, keep my mind on the holy name, I will read one verse in the Bhagavatam and the purport. And when I read the purport, I do it very slowly. I'll read a line and then chant around and then read another line. And it drives the point home, and it resonates on a deeper level. And these stories, I've noticed one, and I'll end it here, one common factor, and that is, as we call in the Bhakti Center, the extreme, what is it? Extreme personalism. What do we say? What do we call radical personalism? And that is, when you began this class, you talked about Prayag and Mother Jamuna, and they're all there to bathe. And we say, okay, well, this is a story, especially if you have a college education with anthropology or sociology. They teach you that these mythologies are not, that they are symbolic, that these things are symbolic. And so we tend, especially in the West, tend to reject we call it personification. We tend to reject it. But ultimately, when we join Krishna consciousness, we regain that childlike, pure heart in which we start to understand. And case in point, the other day I was on my knees planting spinach and kale in the soil. And my son and I were at it until 3:30 in the morning wearing headlamps because we had to get the seeds in before the big rain. And I just by association with Mother Bhumi, I was running my fingers through the soil that we had worked on, and I was coming to understand that that Mother Bhumi is a person, and that I was being nurtured by her body, and that my hands were upon her skin, and not too unlike a baby, at his mother's, her mother's breast, that Mother Bhumi gives us all our nurturing, and that truly Earth is a person. That this is a person with the skin and the ability to nurture, the ability to raise, the caring, the support, procreation. So we come to understand that the wonderful thing, we say, how wonderful is Krishna? And we can answer that, how wonderful is Krishna, by looking at what wonderful things that Krishna has done, even in the form of material nature. That, as Prabhupada said, we also need to get to a point where we understand that even material nature is spiritual. It's spiritual. If as you were saying, our consciousness forms the world around us. We create the world we wish to create. And when we begin to see Krishna everywhere, when we begin to see the personalism, that radical personalism in everything, including the dirt we may be kneeling on and planting seeds in, when we see that, we are reminded of Krishna's dear love for us, and that even when we have rejected him, he has given us our very support and our very sustenance, the sustenance which is not too much unlike the association of devotees in this class, which is forever endearing and forever nurturing to our spiritual life. Hare Krishna.
I was picturing Bhima Prabhu eating dirt like Krishna. Okay, dear devotees, today's the big rain. Make sure the seeds of your commitment are planted. Akshaya Trita is the big rain. I was thinking about that, tying it up to today's theme. Okay.
If you have any
Nita-
things that you've been waiting on to finish, today's the day to do it too.
Or to start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Nityananda Chandra. Wonderful class. You even reached us all nicely, wonderfully. Any final lines, final words for today? No? Anyone?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Bhima Prabhu for that suggestion of reading a verse or something right between chanting each round. I think that really helps because the mind has to dwell on something, right? Otherwise, I know I'll be looking at my phone, looking at the next thing that comes along, the distractions. So thank you for that, Prabhu. Very pleased.
Srila Prabhupada said, I wrote all these books to make you chant Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sundaranandaji. All right, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Om Tat Sat, Haribol, happy Akshaya Tritiya. Come again tomorrow.